what we're going to do is, with Flash, I'm going to show you how to import your images into Flash. Okay, so you've got 3 ways to do this. You can use Photoshop and use these Wacom tablets, okay, and actually draw your images by hand. All right, you can use Illustrator to draw your images as well, or you can use Flash and actually draw them within Flash. Okay, so I'm going to show you those 3 different ways to do that. So we've got 6 of these Wacom tablets. They're essentially what's called a graphic tablet. So what happens is you draw on this tablet and it'll use your images on the screen. Okay, so I know we touched upon this. Remember we did this at the start of the year? It was a while ago. All right, so let me just quickly make a blank image here. All right, so if I get my pen, I'll zoom in so you can see. All right, and I draw here. It'll basically do exactly what I'm drawing. It'll also do pressure. So if I just touch it lightly, you can see it's just a really light stroke. If I push down harder, it's a darker stroke. Okay, and if we change our brushes to something like, I don't know, a calligraphy brush, or let me go into here, and I want to choose a different set of brushes. Let's go artist brushes. Okay, you'll get a different style of brush here. So something like this, you can see again, if I push harder, it's going to change the way it looks, and you can change the angle. Now these tablets, these Wacom tablets here, are fairly basic, so they'll register pressure. Will, do you want to actually look forward now? They'll register pressure, but they won't register angle. So if I tilt my pen, it doesn't actually know it's tilted. Okay, different kinds of tablets that we have will change that. So if you tilt your pen, it knows that you're tilting it on an angle, and it'll change the way it looks. Okay, so we'll be using these. I'm just going to reset that, and that's pretty much how they work. All right. So how they're really, I mean, they're handy because if you wanted to draw quite a detailed image with a mouse, it's not going to happen. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'll just reset these back. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do is you've already drawn your images. Okay. So now you want to bring those into Photoshop to clean them up and to add some color. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up an image that I've done this morning. All right. So what we've got here is here's the image that you've drawn. Okay, it is from SpongeBob. Here's the image that you've drawn on paper. Okay, so
Did you draw that?
yeah, I got it from one of the games I made. So here we go here. Okay, so if you want to actually get this image, you want to draw it, you want to actually put it into Photoshop or put it into Flash and make it a lot more detailed, this is kind of the process that you'll do. So you've got your sketch. So the first thing you want to do is create a new layer above it. Okay, because you want to start drawing on that layer, and this will be your lines, okay? So you can label these so you can remember them for later on, okay? And we can start drawing this. Now that, if you have a look at the size there, that's 100%. So that's how big this image is going to be, okay? Which is, it's quite large. So we've got a new set there. There's our drawing. And now what you want to do is to start drawing over this. So you could use a mouse, okay, and start doing it, but I'm not great with a mouse. I don't know if you guys are. But clearly that's going to take a while to kind of get that, and it's not going to look that great at all. All right, so that's why we're using the Wacoms for these. So I'll just get rid of that one there. All right, bring my opacity up. So what you want to start doing is just zooming in here, and then start drawing this thing. So it's a bit tricky on this screen here because I'm trying to do 2 things at once. Go to your brush and then just literally start drawing. And you can start tracing around this character. So it's just like you're actually drawing. Just like you're actually drawing on paper. Okay. So you can do the eyes as well. So I'm just going to do the top half of this. If you want to make it a bit easier for yourself, you can actually bring the opacity down. So your opacity is the amount that you see. So if I bring that down, it makes my top layer a bit stronger, okay, and the bottom one is a little bit grayed out. So it'll make it a little bit easier to start drawing in here. So we can continue drawing. Draw your outlines. So what I'm doing is I'm just actually looking at the screen. You don't look at the tablet. So how the tablet works is it's mapped to your screen. So the top right, if I move to the very top right of this tablet, it's the very top right of my screen. And if I go to the top left, it's the top left of my screen. So you don't actually have to look at the tablet at all. You just know kind of instinctively where this thing is. So we'll start drawing here. All right. So I'll just do the top. All right. So if I get rid of that layer, you can see there's my guy there. So a little bit more detailed, obviously, than you would have it if you were using your mouse. But it's still quite sketchy. So what you want to do now is to kind of go in here and then start to clean it up a little bit. So this is our lines layer. So we can go in, you can zoom in here, go back to your paintbrush, and then start to clean this up. And this is where using the shortcut keys are going to save you a lot of time. So I know, for instance, that if I press the E, it's going to switch to my eraser, and I can clean that up a bit easier. Okay. If I press B, it goes back to my paintbrush. All right. If I use these brackets, it'll increase the size. So you can see as it's going to be really, really quick if you know these shortcut keys, as opposed to going, oh crap, I've got to go up here, change the size. Now I've got to go down here and click my eraser. So you just keep using those shortcut keys. Okay. Back to your brush. So I'll just do this really quickly, okay, just so we can kind of move on. All right, go to my eraser. Okay, and eventually you'll clean this whole thing up, all right? So back and forth with those lines, clearing them up, cleaning these up here, obviously fixing up things like that, getting rid of those, going back in. Until you get the image that you want. All right, so that kind of makes sense. So it's just back and forth with those fine details until you get, you know, the clean lines that you want. It looks exactly how you want it to be. Again, you can adjust the size to make these a bit thicker, but it's still pretty much sketching on paper. Okay, it's still the same process. It's just easier to go in and clean them up. All right, so let's just say we've done our entire outlines. All right, we've done the outlines of the guy. They're sitting over here. The next step would be to add color to it. Will? Dan, do you want to move up here, man? The next step would be to start to add color to this, okay? And this is where your layers are really important, the layers that we did at the start of the year. So what you want to do now is do a new layer for your color. So why wouldn't you have the color in the same layer as your lines, for instance? Let's see if someone else can use more words.
If you stuff it up, you can just get rid of the layer.
Yeah, exactly. So if I started sticking on this layer here and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to color this in. I don't. What color? Isn't he like a blue color?
He's purple.
All right.
Dark purple.
Well, let's just try a new game where you don't talk. So what we do now is if I actually started to draw on this layer here. Whoops.
No.
I've just killed him. Give me a sec. So because I'm recording and it's on the projector as well, it's a little bit laggy here. If I start painting on that, and then I don't like that, and I go to erase it, it'll erase everything that's on that layer. So it'll erase all that hard work we did with that line. So that's exactly why we do 2 layers. All right, so we'll just step that back. So if I do a new layer here, which is going to be my color, all right, and we go to start to color this guy in. So, really, sorry, it's just tricky to do like 5 fingers. All right, we start coloring this in here. All right, and off we go. Now you can see it's going over our lines. So what you want to do is, in your layer structure, make sure your lines are at the top, and then that'll be above everything. Okay, so we can sit here, and we can, whoops. If we sit here on layer 2 and draw, it's under those lines. So those lines are always on top. You drag them here. So if I move that to the top, that's all right. It'll be recorded, Will, so you can watch it later.
Yeah.
That changes the order. So off we go. And also, you got to make sure that you're on the right layer. So if you click layer 1 and start painting, it'll instantly go to that layer. So you need to make sure you're on the right one here, and then paint away. And then you can start to create this guy. All right. So again, a lot easier to do. We can increase the brush size on this. All right. So I'll just do this really quick. All right. And then that's how you'll actually start to do this. Okay. If you want, you can do all your colors on one layer, but I would suggest use a whole bunch. So, you know, if we want to do the eyes now, let's do a new layer for the eyes. All right, there we go.
Is there a fill option? So instead of
There is, but how the fill will work is because we're working on separate layers, it doesn't actually know where it needs to fill in. So if I wanted to do that, I would have to, let's get rid of the eyes for instance. I would have to actually click my fill. Now if I went to my eye layer, which is my top one, and I go to fill that in, it'll fill it in, but it's done it on the actual eye layer, where the outlines are, which is what we don't want. So what you can do is, if you use this select tool, if you're on that layer and I hit select, you'll see it'll select everything in there. And then if I go back to my layer where I want to color in, I can then, it'll just fill in that there. But because our lines aren't perfect, they're still quite sketchy. If you went to the time to straighten those up, that would work better. But they're quite sketchy at the moment, so it won't look the best. But that's how you can do that. So I'll just quickly do this. Do our eyes here. All right, and then off you go. And that's all you'll do for your whole character. So again, it still takes a fair bit of time because you want to take time to do those lines. And then you can go in and do a few simple little changes to kind of make this guy look a little bit better. So remember we did those burn and dodge tools at the start of the year? Thanks, Will. So if I want to add some highlights around here, so I can kind of give him some bags under his eyes there.
I did that recently.
So you can do stuff like that, which is kind of easy to do. Or you can highlight certain areas. So go into here, if you want to, you know, highlight his cheeks a little bit, you can do that, okay? And that's, yeah, man.
Kim doesn't believe I did this on my COE group.
Oh yeah, no, you did. Yeah, you were doing a lot of the skating stuff. It was pretty cool. It's the most work I've ever seen you do, Will. It was impressive. And so that's what you can do with this. And eventually you'll have your image, okay, that you'll then bring into Flash. So what you want to do with this is, say this is all completed, all right, you'll then want to save this file. Oops. Okay, and you want to save it as, you can either save it as a Photoshop file itself, Will, you can save it as a Photoshop file, or you can save it as like a PNG file, and then you'll bring that into Flash. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to just crop this down, and I'm going to save that as test 1. All right, so that's one way of doing it, okay? Now I'm going to show you the other way that doesn't use the Wacom tablets. That'll still give you a super detailed image. So I'm just going to kill this. All right. So remember in Illustrator, we talked about the differences with Illustrator with vectors and pixels, yeah?
Yep.
How Illustrators are all points, and now you can enlarge it and you can decrease it as much as you want. It still keeps that quality.
Yep.
All right. So let's do a new document in Illustrator as an A4. So we're going to do the same process, but we're going to do it slightly differently, and this is a lot quicker and will allow you to do a lot more. All right, so first I want to bring in that image. So I'm going to open up Bob again. There he is there. And I'm just going to move it over here. All right, so same principle. Okay, there he is there. You still have your layers. Okay, so you can still do multiple layers on this. So I'm going to go to my layers here. And I'm going to do a new layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this layer out, so now I can't actually do anything to that bottom layer. Now, with Illustrator, instead of drawing, okay, you use the pen tool here. So, let me show you how this works, and it can work really quickly. So, let's say I want to make, I just want to do his body, okay? What you do is you start adding these points. You kind of trace him, We'll go to there.
Just what we did at the start.
Yes, it's the same thing, okay? But I'm just going to show you how you can do it with a character. So, trace around. You don't need too many points. You'll actually kind of figure out, the more you do this, you'll figure out how many points you need to do to make it look accurate. All right, and closed. All right, so now we have the outline of this guy. All right, so again, we can't see it because it's above there. So if we want, we can bring the opacity of this image down so we can actually see what's under it. So my opacity, because my screen's all over the shop, what I'm going to do here, there we go. All right, so now I can see my line here, and I'm just going to give it a black outline so I can see it there. And remember, your stroke is the thickness of that outline. All right, so now we've got the outline of our character. So this is where you can go in here and actually start to change these points so it is a lot more detailed. And this is a lot quicker than drawing it. So remember these convert points. So if I get this point and convert that, there we go. So this way, unlike in Photoshop, we were kind of sketching and it was a bit tricky to get those perfect lines. What you can do with these, if you move these control points, you'll, in a matter of a few minutes, you'll get a perfect line. Okay. It's really good. Yeah, it's really handy to do. Move that up there. So you can see how quick this is to get. And I'm just using the mouse. You don't need the Wacom tablet. It's all just by hand. Okay, so that one we want to move that a bit to there. And you can move them individually, so I can move that control point and then move that one separate. I'll show you. All right, there we go there. So obviously we can put this into that outline there, or we can do the eyes separate. So remember that these are layers. So what I would do is you do the eyes next. So you can see that one needs a bit of work, so we can go back in and you can grab that point and just move it up a bit. Looks a bit better there. We've missed his lip, so we can add a point. So if you go back here and do add an anchor point, and we'll just add another one in there, and then we'll add one there as well, and then you can go back and just fix them up. Remember, you can zoom in, obviously, to make it a bit easier for yourself. And I'm just going to move that there. All right, so there's our outline, and it's pretty accurate. Again, the more time you spend on this, changing those points, the better it'll be. But if we hide that, there's the outline of our guy at the moment. Okay, so what we'll do here is we can fill that in if we want to and make it pink, and you'll get that perfect color there. You can change the outline color if you don't want it. I'm just going to get rid of that. So for the eyes, Will, what we'd do now is we would do another set of shapes for the eyes. So a new layer, we'd zoom in here. Something like the eyes, you know, you can use that pen tool if you want and make them, or you've got shapes in here. So you can just kind of make a shape that's getting close to what you want. And then you can actually go in there and move these. So don't do more work than you need to do. All right, there we go there. Move that down. There we go. So there's one eye, and we'll do the second eye. Right there. All right, so again, that'll do. And then if we fill these in and make them white. All right, there you go. So obviously in our image, this eye was above this one here. So all you need to make sure you do is if you select that and you arrange and you bring that to the front, it now puts it in front of that one. All right, and then as we go down, there we go there. So you can see quite quickly, we're going to make this whole character. So we'll go back in, and now if we want to do his shorts, okay, what we can do is we can, again, make another shape around there for his shorts, make another shape for his feet, or you can actually intersect that across there. And there's our guy. We'll do Let's give him a couple of eyeballs. So if I want to see where those eyes are, they're down there. All right. Just move that over there. That'll do. All right. And I'm just going to copy that. And there's our guy. So same deal. So which one do you think would be easier, I guess, to do? This one. Yeah. This is the easiest one. All right. It's really easy to get. If I get rid of that background and I put him back, that's coming along. Okay. It's really easy to get all those details. The lines are made for you. They're really, really clean. You don't have to worry about erasing and redrawing. You don't have to worry about coloring stuff in again. It's all done for you. You know, if we want to fill a color in, it's all here. I just pick which color I want, and it's filled in. You can go and do other things as well. You can add some extra details. You can add gradients in. So if I wanted to make a new gradient, you can do that. Let's change this color here. And you can make, say, a pink gradient going up and down. You can do all that kind of stuff. So that's your other option. All right? So now, the final thing we're going to do, Will, is bring these images into Flash. Okay? So you can actually start to use your animations. And then I'm going to show you the last way of doing this. So for this one, I'm just going to save this as test. I'll show you that. All right, so we're going to save that as test 2. All right. So finally, we're in Flash. Now, I showed you guys this really quickly before we left at the end of term 2. So we're in Flash here, all right, and we want to do a new animation. So we do Action Script 2. So this is your canvas. So everything that appears on here is think of that as your footage. That's your film, whatever is on this white screen here, okay? And then your library is everything that's going to be every element, every actor, every prop that's going to come in your animation. So this is your library. And so this is the third way of doing something. You can actually draw straight into Flash. So we do a movie clip. So a movie clip makes a little animation. And there it is here. So if we probably bring back the Wacom. Whatever you draw in here, is your little character. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's sick.
Yeah, no, look at that. This is why I'm here. And there's your guy. Okay, and that's an element now that you can move around. You can do whatever you want to. With your keyframes, if we wanted to change this guy and we wanted to do that animation, so if you remember that original video clip we saw, Ibby, it had like 2 frames of animation. All right, so what we do here is if we make a keyframe, and then after that section, we now go in here and we want to change this guy around a little bit. We'll get rid of that. Okay. Yeah, he's depressed. Okay. And that's the sad face. He's...
Looks like a mustache. Classic.
Okay. Alright, and I'll move that keyframe here. Alright, so now you've got your little animation.
Oh, that's sick.
So it's really, really simple. So this is your third way of creating stuff. Alright? And now that's sitting there as a symbol, if I go back to my scene, you can see I've got it animating over 25 frames. If I bring him in here, plonk him there, and play this animation, he'll just repeat that over and over and over and over again.
That's actually really cool.
Thanks, Will. I'm glad that you like my skills. No, I was a compliment. Thanks, Will. All right. So now that he's sitting in here, now you can actually animate this clip that you've made. So if I go and put this guy over here, I'm just going to zoom out a bit. I put this guy over here, all right, at frame 1, and there's a keyframe. And then what I want to do is at frame 60, I want to have him across somewhere else. If I grab the little guy, move him over there, and insert another keyframe, you can see it up there. All right, so what you've got here is at frame 1 he's over here, and then at frame 55 he's over here. And that's because that's where we've moved him. And if we put this tween in, what it does for you is it automatically goes, right, I've got to start here, and I've got to move here in those frames. So then if we hit enter on that, he'll move across, and he'll just play that animation that you've got repeating over and over. So that's how you'll actually create your entire video clip. Does that kind of make some sense?
Yes.
All right. So, thank you. So now what you'll do is, if you wanted to use the other two options, so if you wanted to use the Photoshop images that you've drawn or the Illustrator images that you've drawn, you need to do that a different way. So we'll go new symbol here, and here it is here. You need to now import those separate images, okay? So with Illustrator, what you'll have to do is if you want this to animate and to change, you need to draw two of these, and it will change between those. So what I'll do is I'll go back to Flash. I'm in my symbol here. I'm going to bring in that Illustrator file. And I'll bring in everything except those two. And there he is there. So if I plonk him in there. Alright. And now what you want to do is, let's just say you want this guy to animate. He's jumping or he's doing whatever you want. You need to draw those two images. So I'm just going to quickly make another image in Illustrator. All I'm going to do is just change the color of him to green and make that test. Okay, so now I've got this guy here, and I'm going to bring in the other guy. Which is that one there. Okay, so kind of similar to how we did it before, except instead of drawing and making a change on the image, we're actually using the images we've already drawn and just replacing them. So with this guy, I'm going to have him that color until frame 20, and then I'm going to bring in the second guy and plonk him over there. All right, and I'm going to have him till frame 40. And so there's your animation. And so now if you play that, whoops, we still have that guy. If we bring him across, and he's symbol 2, if we go back to our scene, drop him in there, he does that. All right? So they're your options. So to kind of recap that, we can scale this down. Because this is the vector as well, as opposed to, say, the Photoshop image, we can scale this, we can do whatever we want, and it will still keep the quality from the start. So I'm just going to bring him down. Oops. And you can see you can change him in scale. So depending on how you change his animations is how that's going to work. All right? And off you go. So there are your three ways of doing this. Will, Hugo, it's an amazing chest. Let's put it away. That's your three ways of doing it. Okay, you either go into Photoshop and create your images, okay, but it means that you need to create multiple images. So if you're, like, Lockie's awesome at his hand sketches here, that might be something he wants to tackle, okay, but he would have to do several images for the several different poses of the guy, okay? So you can do that in Photoshop. Or you can jump in Illustrator and do the way that we did with the pen tool and tracing it, and you get a much cleaner looking image. So that's the other option, but same deal. You need to make multiple images. Hughes, I don't want to see that, mate. You need to make multiple images for your animation. So if this guy was going to walk or he was going to move, you know, we'd have to go back in here and maybe move these around, move these points, change this kind of stuff so you actually get him waving, and then save that as another image, and then copy those across. So that's your second way. And the third way is actually just creating a new symbol in here and just manually drawing it, okay? And again, this way works, and it can be pretty effective. It's got a very scratchy look because it's hard to get detail in here, but you can almost draw on the go. So if we wanted to have, I think I used the example of an eye blinking last time. You know, if we draw our eye there at frame 1, and then we just jump this across, insert another keyframe over here, and then erase that. I'm just going to do this really quickly, and then draw it down there, and then jump forward. So this is a really quick way to get a lot of frames of animation in your clip. And then we'll draw that coming over there, And then we'll do another one. And I'll do one more. Got to catch them all. Here you go.
It actually looks like
All right, and then you'll have your animation. So it's quite effective. I quite. Sorry. Well, yeah, we can go and add our eyelashes. I mean, you can do them retroactively, and I can add them now if I want to. But then you'll have to add them each time. All right, let's just put them there.
It looks like Voltor. Oh my god, Voltor.
They go down. You've got eyelashes on both sets here. You can worry about the details in yours. All right. Don't pick on my eyeball, all right? And there you go there. So it's really easy to add all these details. You just sit there and you can just scribble. You know, I can put.
Do you want us to scribble though?
If that's the style that you're going for, I mean, you can start doing this.
Like make it rough.
Well, I quite like the look of this really rough style.
Are you using the drawing thing? Or?
Yeah, I'm using the Wacom at the moment. So whatever you add just appears. And now if I play that back, you know, there's your styles. So I think it's got a cool little look. As long as you kind of stick to that style. And it's really quick to make animation. You could draw, again, if we wanted to do something else, we could draw a guy walking. And then in the next frame, you actually draw him with a new step and a new step and a new step, and off you go. And yeah, that's your third way. And then back to your scene. Let's bring that one in here. This is going to look a bit weird. And then play that. And then it'll move across. Alright, so that was pretty fast. But essentially, they're your three options. Okay, there are three ways of doing this. So what we're going to do, we've only got 4 weeks left until we're done with this. And you're done with the term. Okay, so what you need to be doing is focusing on this one here. Getting all these elements, Kiana, getting all these elements into your library, so then all you have to do is animate. So what I want you to do for the next at least week and a half, possibly 2, is just get all these elements ready. So you should know, all right, I need a tree, I need a unicorn, I need a sun, I need this, I need that. All right, I want the sun to glow, so I need to do a few frames. I want the unicorn to I don't know, neigh. So you need to draw a few frames of that, and you need to get all of those symbols in here ready to go. So you need to decide how you're going to do this. We've got 6 Wacom tablets, so if you want to do a bit of a mix and match, maybe do some stuff in Flash, some stuff in Illustrator, some stuff in Photoshop, mix it up so we can mix the tools around. Yes?
You know how you trace the actual line?
Yep.
Do they have to be your own pictures, or can you trace Google images?
Technically, you can trace Google images because you're not actually using that image, you're using it as a reference, so you're not really infringing any copyright. So yes. Unless, of course, you trace around the McDonald's logo, then you'd probably get in trouble. Yes?
The final product's done on Flash.
Yes, everything's done in Flash. So that basically those steps I just did then, making that animation, that's what you'll be doing. Except all of these items will be the symbols that you've made. Okay?
If you wanted to put the lyrics in like a you do them in separate symbols.
Yeah. So you can do a new symbol. And if you wanted to, you could make it a movie clip if you wanted to change the text, if you wanted to animate it across. So if we wanted to...
Is that like a text box?
Yeah, it is just a text box, yeah. If you wanted to make it look like text, like...
We just write.
Sorry? And then that's your symbol. And if you wanted to, you could animate it. So that's a keyframe. Then say here, I can go in and I can change that to something else. And then that will animate too. And that'll just repeat. But if you're using something like that text into this kind of, like it would probably look a bit weird having some detailed text with your hand-drawn animation. So you decide how you want to add it in there. It's up to you. So that's it. Any other questions? No. So all you're doing is spending the next 2 weeks solid making all these symbols, Jordan. So you should have all your elements already. You've done all this. You've done it in your storyboard. You're just making them in here. Is that cool? So I'll come and help you out. I mean, obviously we went through a lot just then. I'll remind you. I'll help you out with those individual elements with Photoshop and Illustrator and Flash. But if you can start getting on those now, then we're good to go. Cool. That's it. That's done. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now.